What's up, gamers? This is Jim from Just Push Play here, iOS Video Game Web Show. I told you I'd be back, so no surprises. So I want to continue where I left off yesterday. I don't have a ton of time, unfortunately, but there's still quite a bit of news from the last week or so that I didn't cover. That kind of cool games in the pipeline, and I just want to let people see them because it's so easy to miss out on gaming news information. Um, have you ever actually seen or heard your friends say, "Oh yeah, I totally didn't hear about that. I was out of the loop for, a few days doing so and so," right? So that's, that happens. If you have other things to do, maybe you don't actually hear all the video game news. So that's why it's good to have, someone like myself tell you what I think is the coolest news that was around, coming from around the world, for the last week or so. And, you get a spin from a fellow Ottawan. So, anyways, let's move on. Okay, so the first news, or actually, it's a game review of a game that came out, I think, a few days ago. It's called Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Uh, the setup is kind of, well, it's not really a new story, but it's about two sons. Their father's ill, and they set out on a journey to find a cure for their father. Apparently, the game controls really well. Now I'm interested in getting it sometime in the future, maybe playing it, doing a let's play. Um, but the actual art design, art direction is just amazing. I can't do it justice by actually um, describing it. So just check out the link that I provide. And it got a really high review from Joystick, and I trust Joystick more than most of the time than IGN or any other place anymore. Um, Kotaku, sometimes I agree with them, but Joystick had nothing but praise for this game, so definitely check it out. And you can check out this review as well and look over the pictures and decide for yourself. That's the best way. All right, on to the next news. All right, so since everyone likes Zynga, yeah, um, in the last week or so, they've actually shut down four games. The Oh My God Pop web site, uh, and Oh My God Pop actually made Draw Something, which, there was a period of a month or two that Draw Something was like one of the hottest games out there, and then, um, actually my girlfriend was playing it for a while. She played Draw Something so much more than I did. I thought it was kind of neat, but I don't know. I'm never been the best artist in the world in terms of like picking up a pencil and being able to draw something. Um, so really, the game didn't appeal to me. So I would draw something, and then my girlfriend would be like, "What the heck is that?" And I'm like, "Well, this is like a chair." And she's like, "That's not a chair. That's I don't know what that is. That looks like sticks and stuff, or who knows." But yeah, so I never got into draw something, but that was a huge hit for them. Um, but and Zynga actually bought the company just for 200 million just over a year ago. Just getting the info here. Um, yeah, so as of August 29th, the Oh My God Pop, their games Cupcake Corner, Gem Rush, Pool World Champ, and Snoops will come to a close. OhMyGodPop.com will not exist as of September 30th. So, this is sort of sudden news. Zynga has been doing a lot of cuts. It's not going to affect, apparently, Draw Something 2, or Draw My Thing. But, they're losing so many people. It's getting kind of ridiculous now. Um, it's like if you look at retail chains, if you look at like Sears, Sears is slowly dying. And if you read economics articles and other interesting related things, um, yeah, it's never good if you're closing stores. Um, at least, uh, if you if you're closing stores and you don't want to close the stores and laying off lots of staff every few weeks, like that's definitely a bad sign. And Zynga is doing this. I know they're restructuring and sometimes uh, companies can bring things back, but yeah, it's not looking too good. So I don't know. They might not be around in 6 months to a year. We'll see what happens and how that develops. So on to the next. All right, so it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you're like me and have been gaming for such a long time, and you can remember when the original game of series was made. So imagine being around when Call of Duty was made, or even Mario Brothers. Like that's those series have been around forever, right? So or Zelda, those are all classic series. So um yeah, it's pretty weird when you've been around and you've seen games or dozens of games or like games are in their sixth game of the series. Like it's pretty weird seeing that many games and then you realize you're getting older and you're a lot older than you used to when you first saw that game. So anyways, long story short, Prey 2, the rumor has been since I think May that it changed development studios and secret. And the press sort of asked Arcane Studios and whether they actually were tackling Prey 2, but it was consistently denied. And now, in the last few days, it's been shown and revealed, and they'll admit that they are now, you know, rebooting Prey 2 because the original, uh, who was the original company here? Uh, Unfortunately, Human Head. That's it. Human Head Studios was making Prey 2, but it wasn't going anywhere, and apparently they lost the task to do that, the ability to make the sequel. So apparently now they're using the Dishonored developer. Now I'm surprised this is big news because Prey, I don't think Prey sold that well, and like to be perfectly frank, other than like the first few levels um, on Earth and then going up immediately into the spaceship, which that's not a spoiler because you know it's kind of promoted in trailers and everything. Um, but other than that, the game wasn't designed too well. Like I got through at least half of it, and there wasn't. I found it wasn't clear sometimes what you had to do, um, and it just wasn't a ton of fun. Like for all the hype and seeing through all the hype, yeah, it wasn't a fun game. So now like everyone's talking about Prey 2. There's been I guess it's a slow news summer, slow summer for news because, if this is like the exciting news of the summer, um July, August, then wow, I thought I thought the Ultra Street Fighter 4 news was a bit more like out of the blue than hearing that they're remaking this game. So maybe it'll be a better game. Dishonored developer seems to be good. I didn't really get around to playing Dishonored since I was busy during the year last year. So, but I've heard it's highly it's a lot of fun and it's been highly praised. I mean, so yeah, this might be good news. We'll see how it turns out. And we'll see whether it gets released because the first Prey almost didn't get released since it was in development for such a long time. So we'll see. All right, on to the next. All right, so Xenoblade Chronicles. I looked at it. It didn't look like my type of RPG. Maybe the story is amazing. Maybe it's worth, the $90 that GameStop's trying to price it at. But I think it's, you know, if you don't like the price that I know it's hard to find, but buy it from your fellow gamers. Like, don't go to GameStop. Look on Kijiji. I haven't checked eBay, but maybe check eBay. There are other ways. You don't have to buy things from GameStop. They wouldn't do things like this um, if they wouldn't do things like this if they if gamers were, more rebellious and relied on each other more. And like Metro Prime Trilogy as well. Like, yeah, you can buy those games individually. I'm sure that someone out there um has those games and you can buy them. I think I have the first two. So, and someone I know has the third game. So really, I'm sure you can get them if you have a look. So uh, I'm not sure if people are annoyed because of it's a matter of inconvenience, and but really, like, if no one buys these games at these prices, that's another way of showing to GameStop, like, okay, it's it's not cool that you guys are charging it this much, but there are other alternate means to actually um, buy from GameStop. And if GameStop's just desperate to uh, put up the prices of certain games that are considered to be hard to find, like, maybe use alternate means. Don't go to them, boycott them. That's the best advice I can have for this situation. Um, is there anything? I don't think there was anything else. Um, yeah, so they say that they're gonna do more games and like this in the future and just stockpiling them. Um, and they're saying is the way they're pricing these games is from like current market value driven by supply and demand. Well, I don't know about that because I'm sure you can find these games elsewhere. So just don't buy them at GameStop. I guess that's the ultimate thing to keep in mind. So on to the next. Okay, so eight fantastic games are getting arcade cabinets, and uh, at Fantastic Arcade, and that's going to be in Austin, Texas. Uh, so these games, they're Samurai Gun, Wasteland Kings, Goblet Grotto, Panoramic, Panoramical, QED, No Breaks Valet, and Towerfall, and Ottawa's own Starwell Just the Tip. So I just wanted to mention this because the guys from Preto, they're from Ottawa, and it's great that they are getting more coverage of the game. I played it at the Ottawa International Games Conference, and it seemed pretty cool. Uh, and it's nice to see that developers from Ottawa are getting the recognition beyond, just Canada and beyond just Ottawa. So kudos to them. Any other parts? I think that was pretty much it. Yeah. So there's those games are part of a total of 20 games that are going to Fantastic Arcade, which is it, it's an offshoot of the film showcase Fantastic Fest. So, you know, it's great to see that those guys have made a game and it's being shown off elsewhere. So just keep up the good work, guys, and hopefully Just Push Play can help you guys in the future. So on to the next. So the rumor is that there's going to be a new Diablo 3 expansion. It might be called Reaper of Souls. Um, and I think the game really needs some sort of expansion because I just stopped playing it a long time ago um, without any additional content, at least environmental content. I meant I just didn't see the appeal of going back and leveling up my character. I know a lot of people do, but I like to explore and I like to see new dungeons and um, I like to see more of a storyline. And if I don't see a storyline, or if there's nothing new for me to experience in this world, um, then I will stop playing that game and try a new game, try a new world in that game, try a new experience. So I think Diablo 3 really does need this expansion. I don't think it said that. No, it pretty much just said, October. Yeah, and the game, the PS3 and Xbox 360 version of the games, um, Diablo 3 is coming up September 3rd. So, maybe we might know more information about an expansion then, but I'm really hoping that they release some news about the expansion because um, I can totally see people not. If it gets delayed too long, then people won't play Diablo. I don't know what the Diablo 3 servers are like right now since it's been so long since I played, like October. Um, but yeah, I just personally I just can't see myself going back unless there's an expansion or something, some extra content that isn't just, extra modes like player versus player. So, you know, maybe you agree, disagree, but you know, I just I can't see myself going back to it, unfortunately, until and the always online really ruined it for me. So hopefully they fix that because it will just dump you from the server for no explainable reason. So, all right, on to the next news. All right, well, a lot of the news that I'm covering today, it seems like a lot of the news was about from maybe a week or more longer ago. Uh, a long time ago, I played audio surf, and I thought it was kind of neat. Just the other day, I think, yeah, it was yesterday. It's talks. We found out about Audio Surf 2, and it's going to be coming to Steam Early Access in September. And look at this picture; it actually looks pretty damn cool. It's yeah, it used to be called Audio Surf Air for the longest time. They even had it trademarked, and had a website and everything, but now it's just, they just added the numerical, it's Audio Surf 2. So the first game built custom 3D levels, in case you didn't know, from your music library, and then you actually surf those levels. Well, this one looks like definitely a graphical upgrade. The first game was launched in February 2008. This is September 2013, so it's been a while, 5 years, give or take. Um, but it's it looks like a cool game, and I definitely would want to try it out if I have some spare cash lying around in September. Um, and hopefully there's other features included with the sequel. I'm sure that there might be, some other customizations. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. On to the next. All right, so someone is trying to actually make a Starcraft MMO or called Starcraft Universe. It turns your sci-fi RTS into an MMO that actually resembles World of Warcraft. It's launched on Kickstarter. It's looking for $80,000 in funding. It's so they are hoping to have an open beta by early next year. So early 2014. They have a lot of stretch goals and nifty rewards as well. Um, and you can find more information on the web, and I think they even have some videos. So I think that's kind of neat. There's a huge, just going by the Barcraft meetup that I was at. Um, there are a huge number of people that play StarCraft in the city, more than I realized. So you might be interested in that news, and you might want to check out that Kickstarter. So I decided to cover this for you guys here in Ottawa. So, anyways, that's all I want to talk about. You can look for a link and look for videos. So on to the next. All right, so it looks like Sony's again trying to copy Nintendo. It's really weird how this seems to happen. Everyone it seems like everyone seems to copy Nintendo and what Nintendo does in the last two generations. Nintendo did the Wiimote, then Microsoft's like, hey, we need something like that, and then Sony's like, me too. I want to have something like that too. So again, it looks like Sony uh, had Mod Nation Racers, and now that was like Mario Kart. Now Sony's doing their own Nintendo dogs, 10 dogs. So what the heck, I guess. They announced a game for Vita 2 days ago called PlayStation Vita Pets. Now you think what confused me is you think a game that is called Pets would just, it would be dogs, cats, everything, right? Why would they call it Pets? Why don't they just say the word dogs? But no, the problem with the marketing companies like, well, it's kind of close to what they called their game, or people just immediately realize, hey, this is a copy of that game. So I guess they decide PlayStation Vita Pets, that will not clue people in, people that just don't know video games, that, Nintendo actually did this a long time ago, years ago, and quite successfully. So again, Sony looks like they're copying Nintendo. So you can choose from like 4 different dogs you can take care and dress up in costumes. Um, it and there's also augmented reality mode. So I thought that was kind of neat too. So you can actually take your virtual dogs out into your real life yard, and you know, what's kind of weird is each dog speaks like a human. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy to have a dog speak to you like your best friend. Like it's like one of those crazy kids movies where the dogs and cats are talking, and but yeah, it's only getting released in Europe in next year in 2014. There's no date for a North American release, but I'd be really surprised if they don't release it here. Really surprised. Um, and the graphics look, the graphics pretty much look how I would imagine Nintendogs would actually look on the PlayStation Vita, which seems to be too overpowered to do a game like this to make it, but whatever. It should be interesting to see how well it sells, though, at least in Europe, if it doesn't come here in North America. But it's kind of lame that Sony's doing this and taking a game idea from Nintendo. They already did the PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, which I thought was cool, and like I definitely want to play it and pick it up and buy it for myself or buy a copy. But I mean, it just seems like Sony's sort of running low on ideas, and they always have to take a page from Nintendo's book. I can think of an example of Sony actually taking, a game from Microsoft. But if you can think of one, reply to this and let me know, because I can't think of one that Sony copied from Microsoft. I don't, unless you count like, I think Fallout was before Halo, and they're not exactly the same. But no, I can't think of a single game. That's kind of odd. It's like Nintendo and Sony. They just, yeah, I guess it's that. Anyways, on to the next. So I want to talk about Code Hero. I've seen the news. It sort of comes up in the news every once in a while. It's just it's I didn't really cover it before because it just sort of seemed like nothing was really happening, and I still get that feeling like he's been given all this money to make a game to help promote people who may not be able to know how to code, to just sort of get the basic idea. That's my impression. So the Kickstarter that Coach here had ended on February 24th, 2012. So they raised $170,000 of a requested $100,000. So Alex Peak and his Premier Lab studio, promised a game in 6 months, a full game that would teach K-12 students how to write Unity code. Okay, so and he even added on, like with this extra funding, he even added on the idea of a multiplayer MMO features and a documentary about the crowdfunding process. So, he's adding more features. It sounded like, okay, we've got the money, let's, we should be able to do extra stuff. So he assumed that because he had extra funding, and I don't know how he got the 100,000 estimate for producing the game. I guess that was just like a guess, he just pulled that number out of nowhere. Who knows? But he never actually fell through, like it followed through with anything. And since then, so he promised a new alpha version of Code Hero during PAX Prime 2012. And it didn't come out then. It hasn't come out since then, and a lot of people, a lot of backers who supported him are angry and disappointed, and talked about refunds and lawsuits. So they've had, as of today, they've had weeks of downtime. Alex Peak and the uh, Premier Lab Studio, and now they have links for beta preview builds. Like it's been forever. And it's been 5 months since he posted an update on Kickstarter. And now apparently he's out of money. So obviously the guess that he took that to finish this game, at least have like and added features, was just a horrible guess. And like why he was backed in the first place. Like he must have had, I don't know what sort of standing he had before he started this Kickstarter, and I've read that. Uh, so here we go. So he's now saying that there's going to be a new beta version in September, which is kind of crazy because we're almost in 2014. We're supposed to be finished 2012, maybe summertime, early summer, spring, 2012. Uh, and he's not, he's still not giving an idea when, his website will be back up, when he's able to talk and communicate with backers. It's like, who is funding this guy, and like, how how does anyone have any sort of faith in this ever being a final product? Um, so yeah, he said a full beta should be done by September 1st. It's kind of crazy. It's Yeah, so he's saying he has no money, even though, he said that with 100,000 he'd be fine, and he was given 170,000. He still hasn't finished, beyond the beta. He's saying he ran out of the Yeah, so they've been building the game, but maybe they should have asked for more money if, at least people want some sort of result. And if he can't produce a result, if he can't even communicate, it looks really fishy. So why I just don't understand why people backed him in the first place. It doesn't make sense. No one see on July, I'm not going to go into all the details, but July of last year, he announced the alpha version would launch between August 31st and September 2nd. So, if you make statements like that, people will expect you to follow through. So you know, what was he thinking? What were the people backing him? And like, he paid developers for 9 months of development, and he says it's not a simple game, ambitious. Uh, yeah, so he hired 10 people after the crowdfunding, but not everyone were programmers. So who did he hire on? Like if he didn't hire programs, were they graphics designers? It doesn't say, unfortunately. But yeah, one guy who was brought on said he didn't get paid for most of his work, this David Lopez guy. So um, there's a long story behind that. I'm not gonna just say, um, but the David Lopez said that the work conditions there were unprofessional. Um, there wasn't even a game design document by Alex Peak. Um, no, he has a team of volunteers working on it. So, maybe that's what Alex Peak needs to do. He needs to have more volunteers volunteering their time to finish this game. Like, just let people in to finish it. And yeah, it's it's really crazy that it seems like he spends more time being interviewed than actually talking to his backers. And I think that is the craziest part, that he hasn't really produced much to show for such a long period of time, and he should just release it. Just release it, have people see a buggy version, just so that they have something to use, even if it is still a little bit broken. So that's all I have to say. I'm surprised this guy ever got funding ever for Code Hero, and if it's broken and he needs more money and can't get funding, maybe find another way to get it done. Get more volunteer programmers. Find or get more donations. But I mean, if you are given a chunk of change and you know that that's gonna get the job done, and then you get even more money than you expected, then just it boggles my mind. I just don't know what to say after, if you like so low-balled it that you can't even can't even get a beta out, after so much time and so much money was spent, um, especially with volunteers. So anyways, on to the next news. All right, well, here's the last news of today. Um, from It's kind of interesting to see that it's such a big deal to have in video games sort of, a man or a woman relationship. It's strange because um, I know in Mass Effect, I was reading an article. I couldn't find it, unfortunately, because it was on joystick. But in the last few days, there was talking about how developers literally had to sneak in the option to have those type of relationships into their games. They had to sneak in the code, uh, just because they felt it was the right thing to do. Now, I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do, but it's just I find it kind of weird that it shouldn't automatically be an option in games. And then I see news uh, in the last few days talking about how Overkill plans on adding a female character, um, and also how you know Call of Duty Ghosts will feature female soldiers in multiplayer. That doesn't really seem like news to me. Like, it seems like that should be the standard. It should be, everyone, it seems like they should always be that option. There should have been that option from the beginning. Um, and the way that it's justified in the Call of Duty Ghosts is that let me don't scroll down here. They sort of said that, yeah, they want to accommodate all gamers. Well, that's great, but I mean, why wasn't that included years ago? It should have been, an option, to a long time ago, to recognize something that's in society. It's not going away. If people want to have male male or female female relationships, they should be able to, and it should be reflected in the media more for sure. And it's just kind of strange to see these articles saying, you can play as a female gamer, or they the developers were sort of hesitant to include a non-heterosexual relationship in video games because um, it shouldn't be a big deal. And just my talking about it right now, um, it feels kind of strange because to me it's not a big deal. Like, if people want to have um, that sort of relationship in a video game, that should be an option. There shouldn't be any sort of restriction at all in games if people want to have it set up that way. It's just like I have friends in games and they choose to play as a female character, so having it so that you never having like a female character in the multiplayer, or as is the example in Call of Duty Ghost, or actually uh, Payday not having a female character. It's sort of like, well, maybe let gamers create what they want with your game then, if you're not going to support it, if you're not going to do it. So it's kind of neat to see that existing. I never understood why, why it wasn't implemented sooner, since in the past you could choose as a female gamer. You can female gamer. You can choose a female character, and really it shouldn't be a big deal. And just the fact that I have to discuss it and sort of, say it's about time, just shows that, we're not completely, it's not fully accepted, unfortunately, by society. Um, and it should be, it should be. If we hear stories about people marrying, guys marrying horses, and weird stuff like that in the news. And, you know, I guess that is a bit different, since, it's not how are you going to have kids is probably, I think, in the case of that, like animal and human, it's a bit different when you have, two people living in a house and two humans. But um, yeah, it's sad that it has to be discussed, because it's not fully recognized yet, and it's unfortunate. So, anyways, I'm Jim from Just Push Play, Ottawa's video game web show. Keep on gaming, guys, and have a great weekend.